Hello,
This meeting
hello.
has just started the recording. I hope you all are having a wonderful, I was about to say Friday. Oh my God. A wonderful Saturday. Thank you all for coming and being here. The session is starting now and it is set up to last for around an hour. If you have any questions about the budget, please feel free to ask them anytime, anywhere, and we are going to answer. This is an AMA session.
That's right. I'll share a quick screen here for everybody to just sort of level set and get everything started. Give me just a moment
Please
here.
do. Just to confirm, Lloyd, the recording has started.
The recording has started. Yes, we are good
Lovely.
there. And here we go. Let me share this screen for you here. All right. So just a quick rundown the meeting principles today. We want to have please ask that everyone's let's take turns, one speaker at a time. If you are going to if you would like to write your question, have your question answered, you can write it in the chat and put the word question in front of it so that we know for sure that we've caught your question and can answer it. We need to stay on topic today. Our topic is the budget process and implementation of the budget. And we're a pretty small crowd, so don't have to be super tight on this, but we'd like to stay right around 2 minute for a question, or if you have a statement that you'd like to make. So try to keep it to right around 2 minutes. Um, if you would like to be recognized, raise your hand with the app to be able to be next in queue to have your question answered, and just wait your turn. And you are allowed a follow up question. So and then if you have more than one follow up question, just go back to the back of the line and ask your follow up question, extra follow up question. We'll be happy to keep answering them for you. The session today is 60 minutes. We're going to keep it right to an hour. And the first 10 minutes here, we're level setting. We're going to have a quick brief, and then the rest of the time we'll have community questions, and then we'll just have a wrap up and sort of next steps and extra resources for you. And then the last we ask is like try to be concise and specific, but it's a professional tone here. We're all working together to try to do the best for Cardano. Let's build on the previous discussions. If you haven't seen any of the previous discussions, we'll make sure we share them with you so that you can get caught up on all of the questions that have already been answered. And let's focus on solutions, guys. And lastly, if you normally speak a lot, make sure that you step back and give room for others. I have to do that. I always speak a lot. And then if you don't speak a lot, I encourage you to get out there, speak, tell us what's on your mind, and help us understand what your needs are as in this process. And with that, let's get started. And again, Laura, I'm going to ask you if you can make my screen go away because it won't go away on. It keeps happening to where the slides go up and then my button to
Oh
remove them goes
goodness.
away.
Hang on, let me remove that. Um, oh, there we go. Stop participant sharing.
Thank you so much.
You are most welcome.
All right. Happy Saturday, everybody.
Do any of you have any questions? Please raise your hand if so. Or if you don't feel comfortable doing it, make sure to write down your question in the chat and we will most certainly answer it.
For sure.
We are having a few members come in slowly. It's a Saturday. We're
Yeah.
all a lot slower than we are during the week. That's absolutely understandable.
Well, there were requests that we have a session that, was on a weekend, so people who work during the week that couldn't attend the weekday sessions,
hmm
they wanted to see a session that they were available to come to. So I'm really happy we were able to put this together for today and and give everybody that doesn't get a chance during the week to come in, ask their direct questions and
Absolutely.
get it.
That's
So
wonderful.
yeah.
Um,
Okay, well, whilst we're
I,
waiting for people to warm up, then why don't I take
yes.
the lead and ask some questions we've historically been asked before, Lloyd, and then kind of see
Yeah.
how it gets going. So this is about the budget process. So what can you tell us about the next steps in the budget process and where we are currently in that process?
Okay. Thanks, Lawrence. And so right now we're in the socialization phase. So we're letting people know what the budget process itself is, and also what the value of the asks are for next year. So in other words, we have a group of committees who have up to this point started collecting information and collecting different proposals that will be that are in line to be put in the budget, and they're bringing those proposals forward, and we're socializing the process like we are today, but we're also socializing each of these committees like asks that they've collaborated together to build. So just on Thursday, oops, Wednesday of last week, we had the very first one of the product committee. They're going to go again on Monday.
Hmm.
Uh, and then we have a couple of more committees coming. The TSC, I believe, also has a session next week.
Yep.
And
Tuesday.
and yep, Tuesday. So Monday and Tuesday we'll have sessions, and that will be specific to those committees themselves. And they're giving their presentation of what it is that they've collated that's a good ask for the budget. So we're putting together all of these asks, and our job, the budget committee's job, is to get these asks all together, get them in front of the DReps, get questions from the DReps, get answers, and as to whether or not something looks you know like it's going to be funded or not, according to what the DReps are willing to vote for. Get that information collated, have those conversations back and forth between the DReps, the committees, other participants, and align on a budget that will be a single document that we do as an info action on chain. And that info action has to be voted on by the DReps. And according to the Constitution, if we get a 51% of the DReps approve that budget, then we have a budget for Cardano. And then based on that budget, we can make one or more Treasury withdrawal actions in order to fund the development, the the meetings, the hackathons, the
Hmm.
education, whatever it is that ends up in the budget. We will be able to take the funds out of the treasury and monitor and watch to make sure that those funds are spent correctly. They'll follow milestones and contracts and all of that. And then they get their payments for doing the work of developing and improving Cardano. So
Cool. Thank you.
thank
We
you.
have a first question.
Timmy, how are you?
Hey man, how you doing, sir?
Good.
How's
Happy
everything
Saturday.
going? Yeah, happy Saturday. I have a couple of connected questions regarding the budget. Sorry, am I loud enough? Am I audible? I hope you guys can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you
Yep,
fine.
I can hear.
Hmm.
Okay, yeah. So the my question is about the MCC. What exactly is, because I read the role the MCC plays, which and a part of it is grant, right?
Mhm.
But I'm just confused on what this means. Like, what are they responsible for approving grants? And does the 2025 budget does it fit the category of the grant? And what exactly is the responsibility of the MCC when in terms of the budget? You know how the budget is being approved and distributed, and what exactly is the role that MCC plays there?
Thank you, Demi. That's actually a great nuance question. I like that. That's going to help us get to some brass tacks here. So their job is to approve more like grant categories rather than grants themselves. So in other words, the MCC is not going to be looking at every Catalyst grant that goes through and approving every Catalyst grant that goes through. But instead, they would approve Catalyst and have a contract with Project Catalyst, where Catalyst would say, we're going to do this many funds. We're going to make sure that we meet these metrics and we're going to do these things. And if Catalyst has a competitor that comes along, similarly, they would actually put that competitor through the same paces. So that was the interesting thing about moving. Some people were like, why doesn't Catalyst just make its own request? And Chris Baird from Catalyst said he wanted to be part of the collaborative process because it's a holding them to account that they're doing what they say they're going to do with their grant funds. So you see the difference in that from like it's definitely not that rubber stamp of every single proposal. It's more like the larger categories and the larger groupings of things that need to be done, and then holding those larger groups to account to the work that they did.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Sure, David. That's good for
It's
now. But
worth. Sorry. I was going to
Lawrence,
say,
go
I'm
ahead.
just going to add to that as well, Lloyd. So yeah, as we are collating the Cardano budget, obviously our job is to facilitate, and as is the committees. So they're pulling together the requests for grants. So this year, Intersect has done some grants, and we don't want to replace Catalyst. We're not here to do that. So absolutely, part of the committee's role is to ensure that as the members, we don't start replacing grants to replace Catalyst, and likewise. So we're working together to ensure that the appropriate grants are supplied by the appropriate entities. So Intersect will do more contract style granting work, whereas Catalyst will remain as is as a separate entity to Intersect and the Cardano Development Fund.
Thanks, Lawrence. All right, James.
Thank you, Giola. Let's move on to the next hand. James Barclay, please go ahead. The stage is yours.
Hi guys, thank you. I'm just coming into Intersect and I've been sort of going around. I was in a marketing meeting yesterday and then I've jumped in here today. I guess what I want to know, we've got how much does Intersect rely on grants from Catalyst? How much runway have we got on ourselves? And I'm more thinking the technical side, we've got a lot technically going on in 2025, maybe a whole new code base. We've got major hard forks coming up. Intersect may be taking over the whole code base and the open source stuff. How much have we got of our own that we don't we're allowed to achieve without having to rely on other people's money? If the shit hits the fan, have we got the funds to say no, we can get this done? And that's without, because the catalyst process can take quite a long time, or having to go for grants can take quite a long time. So it's more that how are we sort of preparing for the technical side, and then how are we making sure that we've got the artillery we need to get it done?
Sure. Thank you, James. And so a couple of things. First of all, Intersect doesn't rely on Catalyst funding at all. That's not a part of it. Intersect up till now, Intersect was funded by initial funding that came from IOG and Emergo, and it has membership dues, and that is where Intersect relies on for its funding. Now, part of what we are making requests for in this budget process is direct funds from the Treasury that would be used, not necessarily, it's not used by Intersect, but by companies that Intersect would be in a contractual relationship with that would continue to do the development of Cardano. And that is separate from Catalyst. None of that requires a Catalyst grant or any of that. That's what the Treasury withdrawal process actually is funding, is that kind of work. So it's more like there's a list of work that needs to be done. And according to that list of work that needs to be done, committees have, requirements for tendering where they put out to get contracts fulfilled for that. They sign those contracts and then they monitor that work is being delivered and they make payments based on the delivery of that work. And so that is separate and completely separate and different from Catalyst. And also one other thing, Intersect is already in control of the GitHub repositories for all of Cardano's open source code and has been maintaining and developing on that continuity for an entire year now. They've done it all of 2024. And Lawrence, you probably have some more to add to that, so I'll pass it
Well, I
over
was
to
going
you.
to say yes. So
Yeah,
yes, when Intersect was created, on the 8th of December 2023, we took over the GitHub repos for the code. So we've been maintaining and supporting that for this full year. So yes, the funds this year has come from the Emergo and IAG injection. So that's from them. And obviously moving into next year, our funding would come from a Treasury withdrawal, which would, as per our business model. So our business model is, we have a 5% of delivery assurance charges, which we can make, and an admin charge that we can charge. So that's where our funding would come. So we are bound by the Treasury withdrawal. Now we have a cash position as the Intersect and CDF. So there is two entities at play here. Intersect and the Cardano Development Foundation, as it's called, it is changing, has funds through till March, April, May-ish next year. So with the half full delay, I'm just doing a financial review at the moment. So as we move into next year, I am working with the committees to make sure that the things they would like to do for their 2025 budget, A, has approval from the DReps, and B, if so, and we have some funds, which we do, we will fund them as to start next year. But we are dependent on the withdrawal. So we may start some items, only high priority, in January, February, and March, so we can do that. But we do need to get that Treasury understood and the DReps agreed of what work can take place.
So the technical committee is having to, yeah. But I think the technical committee's meeting on the budget side in 2 weeks or something. So more trying to get your head around how moving forward and what exactly you need, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
Next week on
absolutely. So we've
Tuesday.
got the TSC have got a backlog of work, which is great. So they've got a big long list of things that's been inherited by IOG and is being morphed and added to as we get more community involvement in those areas. So which is really good to see. So as we go forward, there is a list. Now, some things are must-haves, should-haves, could-have. So I always like to use that Moscow Eye style thing. Once with the must-haves, we will fund and we will start because that's what we're here for the betterment of the community. So we will facilitate that and use all of our funds that we have to keep that going. There will become a drop, a cliff edge, as it were, at some point next year, and that's what we're working to mitigate at the moment.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Now let's go to the next raised hands. Chris.
Hi everyone, thanks for the call. Just wondering one question. The proposal for the treasury withdrawal done at the summit was about 300 to 500 million ADA, I understand, but it was at the time when the price of ADA was about half what it is now. So I'm just wondering how you handle the volatility and the price appreciation. And also in the future, would be interesting to see your position on that.
Yeah. So how we're doing at the moment, so every withdrawal from the Treasury is an ADA and obviously comes to a wallet that's controlled under the Cardano Development Foundation, as it's called. That is changing. It's all in ADA. We receive it in ADA. Now, the Budget Committee's responsibility is to work through that leverage, the hedging element. So we will have to convert some ADA to dollars and euros and pounds to pay suppliers. So that will be by the Treasury Management and the Budget Committee. Each of the committees will have a backlog of work and contracts, etc. And the core services team will be paying those bills on behalf of the committees via the appropriate Fiat costs. So what we're working with the committees at the moment is we know the rate in which we estimated their costs at. I think it was at the time, Lloyd, correct me if it was 0.3.
That's right.
Obviously now it's exceptionally great. It's doubled that. It's 0.6. It doesn't mean the committees get more money, just to be clear. We are not doing that. It's the Budget Committee that hedges the risk for the committees, and the committees, will tell us how much they are in fiat, and then we will work through the conversion rates. Now there are some, and I'll caveat this because there are some companies like IO Engineering which would like to be paid in ADA. And that's fine, but we are working very closely with them to understand their costings. So if it does go up, as a company, any company is allowed to make a level of profit. We just want to make sure it's a realistic profit. Does that answer your question, Chris?
Yeah, thanks. That's good.
Thank you very much. We have, just 1 second, Chris, I'm going to lower your hand just to ensure the process goes normally. Next question, Gintama.
Nope, no, you actually had two Chris's up. We had Chris from Straight Pool and we had Chris Cotta. And so Chris Cotta
Oh
has his
no,
question.
I'm so sorry. Hang on, let me raise your
So
hand again.
let's let Chris Cotta have his question now.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It's two Chris's. I thought it was the same one. Chris,
Two
please
Chris's.
go ahead.
I know my hand.
I'm so
Can you hear me
sorry.
okay?
Yeah, we hear you fine, Chris. Go ahead.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Just two things. One, just wanted to say thank you for putting this on and trying to get as many avenues for us to be able to participate and jump in and ask our questions and things like that. The second thing is work being done on infographics that help represent the flow of not just how the budget is expected to flow from ADA, from the Treasury to the different entities within Intersect, but also infographics that clearly lay out how Intersect is represented and where everything goes, because there's a lot to read and digest and comprehend, but at another stage it might be quicker to just be able to represent through an infographic, a flow chart, so to speak.
Yeah. question to my heart because yeah, this is this is my part. This is the part that I get excited about. Yes, absolutely. I have a graphics design team that I'm working with on a daily basis. If you look at the graphics that have come out in all of the presentations thus far, that's
Hmm.
been from our graphics design team. We're aligning more. The core team at Intersect has been providing work on graphics, and then we're taking that and converting those further. So yeah, there's a lot of work that's happening in the back end to do that. There'll be more video coming out. I was actually in the studio this last week, 3 times in the studio this last week, starting to work on production for frequently asked questions and how we're going to do those for the budget committee. How we're going to do short form versions of these sort of, I mean, these things go on for an hour, 2 hours. Like, how do we get that down to 10 minutes? Right. So
Yeah.
we're working on that and experimenting with that as well to get that better. So yeah, lots of that. And then the other thing I'm going to say is that once we start putting this out, I network in with a lot of the YouTube guys. I talk to them on a regular basis. I'm gonna ask them, hey, would you please put your own take on how this works, and some of them are already doing it on their own anyway, but I'm offering to also go on programs with them and talk with them and also bring in the graphics to them so they have it and they can do their own spin as well.
Excellent. Outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate the question.
Yeah, just to add that, I mean, there is a lot on our budget website, and I know on Friday we uploaded the committee management of budgets and contracts, kind of far more detailed. And again, the feedback we've received, Chris, is absolutely that. I don't have, the 30 minutes to an hour to read all this stuff. So we know it's infographics. It's on our list of things to do. Very much so, yes.
Thank you very much, and I'm sorry, both Chris's, for the confusion. Now we're going to move on officially for Gintama.
Hello, happy Saturday. So I'm from marketing working group. So this past few weeks, I have attended some few meetings from open source committee and MCC, and I also hope I think so that there's a lot of inter asking for the same event. Just take one example that hackathons. Every committee has been focusing on hackathons. I even expect technical steering committee to be interested in hosting hackathons across the globe.
Mhm.
So as the same thing is being asked by different committees in the budget, how will you collect it? Because we are all asking for the one thing, that is hackathon. So will it be every committee will get a part of their asking of the budget, or will it come under okay, the marketing team will run all the hackathons part with collaborating with the community, or will each committee get their own part of the budget for the running of hackathon event?
So it is something that we've been talking about internally with the committees. So they've all raised that they would like to do these things. What we're trying to do at the moment is to figure out the best way, because we don't want duplication of cost, the number one. So the marketing committee and the MCC has suggested that they will help support the events. Great. And the technical committee will supply the appropriate resources from the committees to development. So we are working that events and things like that should be overseen by the MCC, whereas the technical elements should be the TSC. That is our initial starting point for this, and obviously we're looking for the committees to liaise with each other to ensure that it's a unified event.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you again, Gintama. And next up, we have Ronald.
Hello, this is Ronald, development partner in the ecosystem. I have a question related to the backlog of the TSC. As far as I know, the budget of 2025 is mostly on basis of that backlog. And there's basically no visibility about it. So how can I know what is part of this backlog? How can I be informed in that? I would like to know as a development partner what is upcoming and how we eventually can apply for that.
So actually, I think it's next week the TSC will be presenting to the community what is on their backlog. And talking to the TSC chair last week, I've made a request that they should be publishing that online in their knowledge base. So as we go forward into next week, I would hope that to see a backlog of things in there on their knowledge base, and they should be discussing it. So you can always reach out to the chairs through the Discord channels and then speak to them about the backlog of work and gain access to it, and or attend one of their working groups where they do talk about the backlog as it stands and some of the scoping elements related to it. I think next week it's going to be Matt Davis who's presenting the information. And it will be reasonably high level with some detail, but feel free to reach out to Matt via the Discord channels and the TSC committee and gain access to one of their sessions.
Okay, thank you for that information.
Thank you so much, Ronald. We can move on to, we have a chat question that was asked about from Jayola. Oh, but it seems Lloyd just asked. I'm going to read the question out loud just so everyone knows which question it is and they can refer back to the chat to read Lloyd's reply. The question by Jayola was, MCC have approval of the 2025 budget process, and what exactly is this role? Lloyd replied with the following answer. Their role is to collect items from the community regarding marketing and grants/innovation funding. Then their role is contract approval and monitoring for approved bucket elements that were from their collected proposals. That is all. We do have another question by Jayola, and I will ask this to Lawrence or Lloyd. In general, what is the process for managing possible duplication of budget items?
I think
So
Lawrence just
actually, that's
addressed
covered in. Oh,
you had just addressed this a moment ago, but go ahead.
no, go on, Lloyd. I've just talked to you. Your turn.
So in general, the idea of collating a budget is the idea that you bring together all of the elements and review all the elements together. And if there's duplication or overlap, then you either find some consolidation between teams maybe, or support and different elements are taken by different teams. That is the point of collating a budget. This is, it's been asked several times why an annual budget instead of more frequent budgets. And I think some people are thinking that by having more frequent budgets, you might get more opportunities to do things. But in reality, when you have an annual budget and you're looking at what you're going to do over the next.
Something happened. Lloyd, you're muted. Yeah, Lloyd got rugged by Zoom.
Yeah, I got rugged.
For a minute.
Yeah, so just to close loops, Lloyd's point there. So yes, so what we've started to avoid duplications is each committee chair reported back to what we call our internal meeting, which is the Intersect Steering Committee. They all reported and went through their 2025 budgets with each other. During that session, there was things like the hackathons events and things that we picked up on. All Intersect has noted those down, and we're working with the committees to ensure that no duplications. So there'll always be one lead, and then the other committees will support. So I'm a big fan of one owner versus multiple owners. So there'll only be one committee that would lead these events, like a hackathon as an example, and then seek support from the others where applicable. Hope that answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I can't see the next person with the hand up.
Well, there are no hands up. So
you're back.
I can't believe we've gotten to the end of the internet and answered all the questions. I don't know how that's possible. Good. Sailman doesn't disappoint.
Just before we move on, Simon, 1 second. Lloyd, can you just confirm this meeting is still being recorded because you dropped out, came back?
Oh, it says pause, stop recording. It says I'm still recording. So yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying. Please, Simon,
my pleasure.
take the stage.
Yes, I'm curious how the marketing working group can maybe help out with the budgeting group, especially with socializing your ideas and getting the information out there.
I'd say it's already happening to some some extent. I've had members of the marketing working group come up and ask, how they can participate and help. Typically, right now, it's socializing that these events are happening. Um, the other part is taking the work product of these events and socializing those, or summarizing them, or giving your own take on them. We're a decentralized ecosystem, so the point is that each of us takes on the part that we're best at and does the part that we're best at wherever possible, to contribute to the value of the whole. And you guys are phenomenal at reaching into the community and socializing information. So, and you have a reach, you have a microphone, use it, and please participate and be part of the process, so that we can get this in front of all of the DReps possible, so that we have a path to a annual budget, and then a path to an approved Treasury withdrawal, so we can all have the funding that we need to continue developing Cardano. Hey, Demi, go ahead.
Thank you. So my understanding is that the CDF's role is to handle like the final endpoint of a budget distribution. Could you please talk us through that?
So yeah, so the point of Treasury withdrawal, obviously it was always in ADA, and it needs to be held in a wallet. So we've created an entity which is based in the Cayman Islands it's currently called the Cardano Development Foundation. It's going to be changed, obviously, due to the similarities to the Cardano Foundation. They will be changed. And I think it's going to be called the Cardano Development Holdings, just to announce it here. We're just waiting for the lawyers officially to call it that. So it will be held by that entity, and it's going to be held in a wallet, which is going to be within a custodian called Zodia. So this is the same wallet and company that's working with Catalyst at the moment. So they have been for this year. So Catalyst are using them for their distributions, and Intersect will use the same custodian. So they'll all be held by the CDF. Intersect is the administrators of that. So it's not Intersect. Our job is to facilitate via the committees in the community the spending of that ADA in the appropriate fashion. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
I think I took an action a couple of weeks ago to write this up into more detail. I've been working on it this week. So we will be publishing that on the Intersect website soon, as a far more clarity around the official CDH, as it's going to be called going forward, and the details and the purposes behind it. James?
Yeah, how are we starting to see the dividing of work and the dividing of costs between Intersect, Cardano Foundation, and Mergo IOG? Like, now that it's starting to get more concrete, like is there a discussion at that top level about who takes what, or is it everything going to fall back onto Intersect and Cardano Foundation, and then we have to pay IOG to do work, or like how is that falling into place now after a year of it sort of working together?
So the vision's always been for Intersect to be that facilitation and collation of information, that central point to bring people together to discuss the next steps and things like that. So obviously we own the GitHub repos and the code, etc. So from an IOG perspective, they have handed those elements. So Charles, as agreed with Charles, they've handed everything to Intersect and the CDF to oversee. So yes, in this instance, from an IOG development perspective, they've set up a company called IO Engineering, which is the original IOG team, and for 2024, Intersect via the CDF has paid them for their services. So the community has already paid IOE for their services for this year. So that's the IO Engineering. As we go into 2025, the technical support committee and the products committee will be working together to align the work for 2025 to the appropriate vendors. So again, where Intersect has been asked to expand the community, we're working with the TSC committee and the current suppliers to ensure that the work is given to the appropriate entity via the approval from the committees, and to expand it to other companies going forward into 2025. So yes, Intersect will facilitate it on behalf of the community, and fund the appropriate entity to perform the work.
And then where does the foundation actually? So the foundation is more the larger scale or the intellectual property over Cardano, or branding, or where's the division of work between Intersect and foundation?
So we're not replicating them. We've actually signed some agreements to utilize their branding, which is the Cardano. They are obviously coming to us and working with us via the MCC committee for things like the summit. So they are working with us on the budget as well. I'm actually going to see them next week to talk about the budget as well. So, I mean, like IOG and Emergo, or any other company, should they wish to gain access to the Treasury, Intersect's happy to facilitate a conversation with the community and the DReps to gain approval for anything. So we're not here to replicate what they're doing. Hopefully we're here just to bring the community together and facilitate the budget for next year, amongst other things.
Yeah, I like to remind everybody it's in the name. The Intersect. We're the intersection of all of the different parts of Cardano. We're the crossroad. We're the place where people gather. That is the point. So that's what we're here for, and I hope we do a good job of continuing to facilitate all of these discussions as time goes on. To the point that Lawrence was making earlier, numbers wise, 52% of the core development in 2024 was IO engineering. The other 48% came from other vendors. So it is not an all IO show, which is good. We love IO, but we also love having lots of diverse community members developing on our code base, because that makes us more resilient, more secure. So that's a metric to watch and a metric to improve upon as we move forward. Hey, Simon, go ahead.
Okay, you just said that you will help the committees manage the budget and make sure that that things go smoothly. How can I imagine that? Like, are there any tools that you have inside, or like, are we gonna have to ask permission every time we need some money? Like, how can I imagine that?
In what way? So I can explain how. So from a committee budget, we're just going to have an Excel spreadsheet, for example, with a list of things. The committee will review them. There'll be a website with knowledge base. All the appropriate information will be in the knowledge base. So the community will see that. They'll have reviews and sessions with the DReps, who ultimately are approving the funding. So they're the accountable people. Everyone's accountable to the DReps ultimately for the approvals. Because we have the funds already withdrawn from the Treasury, if the agreement is for one withdrawal, which is our preference, then we're able to then maintain and manage the distribution of those funds in a far quicker and easier manner. So if it's mid-year, something that has gone wrong and we need to pay a fee of some format, then the money is there, the DReps will be discussed and reviewed, and then would be able to pay that money reasonably quickly. If, for example, it's multiple through the year, we'd have to work within that cash balance that we have at the time, or financial balance. So hence our request for one withdrawal for the year, so we can maintain and manage that. Does that answer your question?
Well, no, because now you're requesting the money from the Treasury, and the DReps they approve. But what happens once you have the money? Like, is it gonna? I understand it's not gonna be just distributed to the committee, or to the committee. I guess you would distribute it to the committee, but you're not gonna give him all the ADA at once, right?
No, absolutely. No, absolutely not. No, so we will keep that together. So we will work with the budgets, with the committees separately. So when they wish to spend it, they will come to core services, and core services will help facilitate them doing that. So we don't give them the money or the ADA straight away to a committee and let them just go spend it. No, they will have to work with the core services team, who will facilitate the contractual, legal, bid management, and all those other areas to ensure that it's being managed correctly.
Yeah, and then as far as auditing and referencing, Lawrence, let's also talk about the fact that every quarter there will be a meeting, a quarterly meeting, where we go over what has come for what's been requested, what's been paid, and what the results are, so that the entire community sees every quarter how how the progress is going along, from the treasury withdrawal. So everything's monitored, everything's managed effectively and efficiently is the goal, so that the community always stays ahead of where we're at and what's been spent and what hasn't.
All right. So let's say we have, we do have a budget line item for professional services, and we want to hire this company because they have like expertise in something that we need. We go to you, we maybe draft a document and tell you, all right, we need those guys to be paid to do this work with those KPIs and so on.
Yeah, so in a sense, so the committee would write the scoping and the requirements and pass that to the procurement team or the core services team, which encompasses procurement. You may have a supplier. Now, one thing that we're mindful of and we have been asked to do is just to make sure that we're offering any contract, any work from the committees to all members and all, publicly. So we are building a site, on our knowledge base where we can post this work, and so anyone can respond back to it. So that's part of our commitment to the community. Now, the committee is still responsible for then evaluating that work. So if you've already selected a supplier, be mindful that we may have to present, there may be 7 or 8 other community members that would also like to supply. So as a committee, you'd have to review those. So there'll be a level of acceptance criteria, etc., which we can work on. And you'd have to be publicly then telling the membership and the community which supplier you've chosen and why, as it were. Now, to TSC, as an example, I've been very specific to say there are some very technical and security related items where we can't go public, and we want to keep the fact that we're doing it secret, as it were. We will work with those if that's the case. If it's ultimately security and we do need to keep it quiet, that's fine. It's not a problem. We can manage that. But for many of the work that we do, or most of the work that we do, should I say, it can be posted for the members and the community to see and bid on.
Yep. And importantly, even when it's secret, like even when the tendering process is secret, the procedure to get there is not secret. So in other words, you can verify that every step was taken along the way. And at the end, when it's safe to release that kind of information, whatever parts of the information that can be released can be released. After if it's a security incident and it's a fixed hole that's no longer open, well, then you can release the information and see that the transparent process was followed. So that's the whole point of having the process open, but not the result of the process. Is that helpful, Simon?
Oh yeah, I wasn't asking about secrecy, but yeah, might be also important.
Awesome, thank you. All right.
Gintama, you're up next, please.
Yeah. So as a Cardano community member, there are many people who want to work full time for Cardano. So Intersect is that place where they can come and contribute for the development of Cardano as an individual member or an enterprise. So as my contribution in Intersect, the past 1 year, I've got to know that committee members and the working group members are not being paid, which is impacted the people to come and contribute more. So is any committee taking up this decision where people who are working or who wants to work for the future of Cardano with Intersect, individually they can join and share their expertise and get paid for their work, or a structure? Is any committee taking upon this step, or is the budget committee working on something like process where you get this payment structure for what you contribute and you can get paid and stuff? Like if you have seen any committee presenting it to you guys.
Absolutely. So yes, we call that stipending, and yes. Beginning of this year, it was we had a CAB set up with members who reviewed and provided a number of recommendations for stipending members of the committees. We didn't fund it this year because we didn't have enough money to do so. For next year, it's part of the budget ask. So each committee has been asked to look at stipending, and we have asked them to make sure it's standard across. So we have the Intersect Steering Committee, which is made up of all the chairs of each committee. And in that meeting, I believe it's on the agenda for next week, or the next session, should I say, where we will again be discussing stipending to A, make sure it's as part of the budget ask, B, it's the same ask for each committee, and to ensure that, for example, you're only paid one stipend, even if you're on multiple committees. So we'll be debating and discussing things like that with the chairs of each of the committees, and then passing it back to the committees following the outcome from that. So yes, stipending is something we definitely want to do. And Intersect, I've seen a lot of members do a lot of work for us in the committees, and they should get paid for it. We just need to make sure it is standard across the piece, and it's part of the budget ask, and the DReps are fully aware that we are doing it.
Like, is it limited just to the committees, or even the subcommittees and working groups come under that stipend structure?
So at the moment, again, it's something to be debated. We've said it's for the committees because that's where the core decisions are created. Now, there is nothing stopping a committee setting up a working group which is funded, but it is people to come out of their budget. So if, for example, if I look at the budget committee, we need to set an audit in place. And one thing that Lloyd and I have spoken about is we would like a number of members to apply to be working on that, and that's going to be a reasonably strenuous task. So we would expect to pay people for a fixed rate per hour for them to work on that piece and perform an audit for us. So you could, as a committee, agree to fund a working group for a period of time to do something. So yes, that is an option. But it does all come back to the budget and transparency to the DReps.
And I'm relatively certain every committee has recommended some portion of a budget for paid working groups for certain tasks that need doing in 2025. So off the top of my head, I don't think there's one committee that didn't take that into consideration. So,
thank you for the answers.
Sure. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, thinking about transparency, how we're looking at like a on-chain, like moving the budget on-chain dashboard with so like we can see every committee has the wallet, blah, 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 dashboard, the very simple usability. I'm guessing that's in the works and something that's down there. And have you got any ideas or timeframes on something like that? Because I'm guessing it's a good product, not just for Intersect, but for anyone wanting to use it in Cardano in their MBO.
Yes, we've been working with Zodia, our custodian, so with a view of multiple wallets, held by the same entity, so they can be tracked. We can publish them to everybody, so they know which wallet belongs to which committee, etc. So we are working on that at the moment. Yes, with the custodian. We are looking at a number of tools. Through some of the events that I've been to this year, we've been talking to companies that provide proper accounting style tools, which are all blockchain enablement. And we are working with them at the moment, and some of them just for testing to see which one we can use. And at some point, once the budget's approved, we'll be publishing it and seeking approval from the committees and probably the DReps maybe as well, for testing purposes. So yes, we are looking at it, and we are trying to find the best way of making it as transparent as possible.
But we're still looking at a centralized type. We're still looking at a centralized thing for auditing purposes at the moment. And then, that's the only.
It is at the moment. So I think, yes, we're trying to. So I've spoken to some of the big auditing firms at the moment, so I can get the Fiat stuff audited quite. That's a standard procedure. Blockchain and ADA is a little bit more of a challenge. So there are a couple of companies. I know there's some at the Cardano Summit in Dubai that I was talking to that provide that type of a feature. So it's great that they're going to be reviewing the wallets. I've given them a wallet that we use for the CDF at the moment, and they're producing a report as a test for me to see what it comes back like. So it's things like that what we're looking to do from the Cardano space, and then we'll be publishing that as part of our end of year report.
And is there a way that, like, if Intersect was to then create this type of product, can then Intersect generate income from that? If it then becomes a product that Intersect own, and maybe it could be something used by other companies, is there a way, or is that not within Intersect's constitution? It's not. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if a tool was created that could be used, thinking about generating income mainly.
Well, I'd love to be generating income from anything like that, so we would decrease the cost we can charge to the community. I think if it's funded, in my view, and it's just my personal opinion, if it's funded by the CDF, and i.e. the community, it should be for the betterment and for the use of the community and we're bound within Intersect to follow the open source. So, we have an open source committee. So actually anything we create should be made available to the community free of charge with our support services.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there are tools that we're talking about, even internally, but we don't want to be a development company. That's not Intersect. We would much prefer to come to the community and find a community person or company to build a tool for us and support and enable them to progress and make it a funded tool.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
perfect. I'm going to start looking at that then for tooling, huh?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think there's so many good builders out there. I don't want to replicate, an IOG. I don't want us to be an engineering company. We should go to another company. There's companies out there that can do these things for us, which is what we're talking about and talking with. And I'd much prefer to support them, like the SOCO KYC tool in Japan. Socialize, I think the company's called, if I pronounced it correctly.
Socius.
Socius, thank you. We are actively talking to them to replace our KYC tool with an on-chain, identity solution. How do we do that, and how do we then roll that out via our membership?
Yeah. And then anything that is developed by Intersect then becomes open source.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's what our mantra is. Yes, everything that we do should be made fully available to the community.
Perfect.
Yeah,
we got to maintain that particular brilliance of Intersect, which is that we're the place everybody gathers, not the company that people rely on for development or anything like that. So, but yeah, hopefully, by being that intersection, that lots of companies grow up and expand from the opportunities that they find by participating in Intersect. That's awesome. The more that happens. Let's see. We have Long Ho says, sorry, I can't speak so well. Comment here. The Ethereum Foundation has announced their budget usage. It's in for 2022 it was 106 million. In 2023 it was 135 million. That's in US dollars. Has the budget committee reviewed this report? Would it be useful as a reference for Cardano, considering the Ethereum ecosystem is significantly larger? That's thank you, Long Ho. I appreciate the question. And so there's no apples to apples comparison, depending, what the Ethereum Foundation does versus that would be more like what Cardano Foundation does. That's more that area. Intersect is providing the funding for the development of the Cardano ecosystem, which uses a different language, uses different development techniques and development processes. So I don't know that there'd ever be an apples to apples comparison. It is useful, and I know I've personally looked at Ethereum Foundation's reports. I've looked at Cardano Foundation's new report that they just put out this week. We do look at whatever transparent public information is available, because it's helpful to see how other organizations go, but it's difficult to say, whether or not the information that they're providing is even encompasses everything that we know we're encompassing in our space. So, yeah, so I don't know if that helps, but that's my take there.
Just to add, but yes, we have looked at the Bitcoin Foundation, Ethereum, all of the other foundations out there. Even when Intersect was started, about what models can we reuse, what were some of the pitfalls when they created. So I must admit the Linux and Hyperledger Foundation were exceptionally supporting when we created the company and explained to us some of the challenges they had when they set up their committees, working groups, and etc. So when they things like that and companies like that being exceptionally helpful to help us avoid the spider that they had of all of the committees and fundings and challenges. So yes, we are using everything we can. I do like the Ethereum as a way that they simply display their information on their website, and we are looking for our end of year report maybe to be something similar to that, and text and a few other financial blockchain style reports, very graphical, very easy to read. So we are absolutely using all of those reference points to help evolve us and to help save us from doing the same errors and mistakes that they made. Okay. Conscious, we've got 4 minutes left. Enough time for maybe one more question if anyone has anything.
We do have a question from the community in the chat. Long haul, they said, sorry, I can speak well, so I will comment
We
here.
just answered
Just
that
done
one,
that one.
Laura.
Oh, apologies. It just popped up for me. I don't know why.
Simon did ask if it's planned to be part of the auditing and oversight fee from Intersect when we're doing the audits. Are the audits covered by the audit and oversight fee that Intersect charges? So if you wanted to be more specific on that for Simon's question.
So yes, so how we envisage it is that as part of any withdrawal, part of the constitutional process, there is an audit charge. So that would cover Intersect, and part of that cost will be the costs include the cost for Intersect services and the external auditors, which we've confirmed that we'll supply on behalf of the community. So our funds will go towards personal, obviously the Intersect staff supporting the committees, and they do a lot of the administrative work for the committees. That includes procurement, legal, contracts, etc. And the auditing for financial and technical elements. So auditing is multifaceted in that sense.
All right. Thank you, Lawrence.
All right. Thank you very much.
Laura, with 3 minutes left, I just want to give some resources to everybody so that they
Yes,
have.
please go ahead.
All right. We posted them here in the chat, but make sure that you look at, if you would like the knowledge base for the budget committee, it is a bit.ly link, so bit.ly/intersect CBC, just like our YouTube and X social handles. Intersect CBC gets you to all the places that that you want to be to see us. There's a Luma board, Luma calendar that is also up that has the remainder of the meetings through the year for these AMA and for the committee meetings. So if you go to lu.ma/Cardano budget process, that will get you access to all of the upcoming meetings through the end of the year. We will be in Buenos Aires at the convention. So if any of you are in Buenos Aires, I'm actually trying to get a t-shirt that says "Ask me anything about the budget." So if you see hopefully you see the t-shirt. We got a couple days where we'll be walking around and happy to take any questions on the budget in person in Buenos Aires as well. And then going into next year, we will be, as we collate this budget, we will get to a point where we will create an info action that displays an annual budget for Cardano, and we will ask the DReps to vote on that annual budget. And with a 51% approval on that info action, we will be ready after the Chang +1 hard fork to place the Treasury action up for a request as well. That will fund Cardano for the 2025 year. So that's our next steps. That's some very exciting stuff. We hope that you guys participate, and we hope that you tell your friends, tell the community, tell the DReps, and if you're not a DRep, tell your DRep to start joining these sessions. So that because that is how a liquid democracy is going to work, is by you telling your representative to come to these meetings so that they can be a part of it. And with
You
that,
couldn't have said it better, Lloyd, honestly.
thank you, Laura. So with that, let's give you guys the rest of your Saturday back. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Bye-bye.